How's it going, gentlemen? Hope everything is going well. It has been a little while since the last time I uploaded. Honestly, the last video was very structured and very formalized. I had a script. I read it pretty much word for word. It took me forever to make. But in this video, I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to go off the cuff here. Just kind of spew my guts a little bit. I want to preface by saying this. I know I'm going to rant, and I know these videos are probably not going to be very good at all. But I want to make these videos in this type of way so I can be a better storyteller later on. And most importantly, I have the knowledge and wherewithal to actually talk in a coherent flow state and not just be super choppy all the time. So just wanted to get that out of the way, not only down the line but also in my personal life as well. So I don't know if this is a super common phenomenon, but for me at least, I ignored a lot of very obvious red flags in this friendship that I for some reason did not think that they were that serious, quote unquote, or that they were not as big as it actually was in the grand scheme of things. And I just kind of want to talk about that because, man, I really don't want to forget the lessons that I've learned from this thing because it sucked. So the first problem that I ran into with this friendship very early on was putting a lot more effort than she was back. And that to me was very glaring and very obvious, even in the moment. Like, I didn't even really overthink that. It was just like, this doesn't feel right. And I started overthinking and overanalyzing. I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Is she doing something wrong? What's going on? She said she just wanted to be friends, and I agreed. Like, yeah, we'll try it out. But it just for some reason wasn't clicking, and I was just really confused on what the heck was going on. So I felt like I wanted to talk to her about this, and I eventually did. But in the meantime, I could just kind of bottled it up and just kind of wrote it off as like, it's probably not that big of a deal. I'm probably just overthinking because I've overthought every single friendship, every single relationship in my whole entire life, right? So, but over the course of time, other red flags started to come up, which were more obvious than the first one. Which was she told me one night that she pretty much talked shit behind my back to one of her best friends in order for her to look better in the situation, which was, first off, crazy thing to do. Second off, for some reason, I was like, oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's cool. It's whatever. People do that. And I'm like, no, people don't do that. Well, yeah, people do. Shitty people do. But I told her, it's fine if you, actually tell her the truth. Actually tell her what happened. Because if you do that, then I feel like we could maybe potentially have this thing work out. But here's the thing, though. She didn't. And she never intended to. She didn't actively express this to me and say, I'm never going to do that. But she just kind of showed it in her actions and not necessarily her words. Which was also another red flag that I just kind of overlooked. But I think this next thing was probably the downfall of our friendship, and it was her actions contradicting her words. And the way that I look at it is, if someone is doing that to you, it doesn't matter if it's a boy, if it's a girl, whatever. If they're doing that, two things are either happening. They're either really confused, or they're just simply playing games. Either one, you should just get up and walk away. And I'm not saying if this happens once, then it's like you should just cut it off right then and there and not say anything about it, because that's just not realistic. But if this keeps on happening multiple times and you're just being more and more confused, like I was, then at some point you just need to say, hey, I just need to step back and think about this because it's really confusing for me. I gotta process this and just have the maturity to communicate that. And also have the self-respect for you to actually step back from a very potentially toxic and confusing situation and just kind of think things through. Now, before I say this next thing, I just want to preface this. She said this to me, just straight up. And I know you guys probably aren't going to believe this, but I can't believe I'm going to say this. She literally told me, I think one of the nights that I was hanging out with her, she's like, yeah, no, I'm straight up a bad person, and I'm a liar and a manipulator. And at first I was like, oh no, you're not. You're fine. You're a good person. You just have flaws. But she's like, no, like I'm straight up. I manipulate the situation to the point where it makes the other person look bad, and it makes me look good. Which, by the way, that happened. I did that. Like I talked shit behind your back to my best friend in order for me to look better in the situation, and for you to look like really bad as a person. And second off, I lie my ass off. I'm a compulsive liar. So you can't really trust a lot of the stuff that I say. And when she told me this, I didn't know. I was lost for words. I mean, you can just tell I'm stuttering. And I can't even believe that she said that, because when I first heard that, I'm like, there's no way. And I was in denial. I couldn't believe it. But over the course of time, when I got to know her and started to hang out with her more and her friends, it became more evident that she was telling the truth. And as soon as I heard that, I should have just left. Now that should have been the final nail in the coffin. That should have been the point, or at least one of the points, where I finally woke up from this hazy dream that I was in and finally took charge of the situation and be like, you know what, this is unhealthy for me. I'm out of here. But it took a lot more than that to finally end things off with her. I just kind of want to briefly touch on them really quick, because I know this video is getting a little long. But one, she didn't communicate how she felt at all. And she would also bottle things up inside, and she wouldn't talk about them until pretty much until like I brought up points about her and how she's being like really inconsistent. And then she would be like, you're doing this. And I'm like, okay. So the thing that finally did it for me was when she called me out of the blue one night, and she told me, she's like, by the way, I have feelings for you. I've always had feelings for you. That kiss that we had, it always has meant something, and I just never had a way to express it because I didn't know how to feel about it, being so much in my head all the time. And I really like you. And she just poured her heart and soul out, or at least that's what it seemed. And I believed it. I bought the story. She's like, I want you to come over, and I want you to, like, let's talk about this. Let's, like, watch a movie. Let's hang out. I'm like, okay. So I drive over, and 10 minutes into the drive, she calls me. I get a call from her. She's like, hey, you were right. Go turn around. Like, this was a mistake. And I was so devastated, dude. I was like, why? So we talked about it extensively until like 2 a.m. I asked her, it's like, hey, do you actually have feelings for me, or you were just caught up in the moment? And she's like, no, I have feelings for you. I'm like, okay. Didn't believe her. Another day rolls by. I call her, or she calls me, and I'm like, hey, do you still have feelings? And she's like, yes, I still have feelings for you. And I'm like, okay. And at this point, I kind of started to believe her. 3 days pass. She moves right down the street from me. I had to work that day. I was going to like help her move in, but her other guy best friend helped her instead. Her other guy best friend confessed that he had feelings for her. She told me this, and she's like, I told him that I don't have feelings for him. I told him that I just kind of see him as a friend, and it just kind of reinforced the idea that it's okay, maybe she does actually genuinely have feelings for me, and maybe things can actually work out. Long story short, that's not necessarily what happened. I got invited to her place with her roommates. I talked to her. She told me that, that night, I wasn't really going to tell you this. I wasn't really going to touch up on it. But I don't actually have feelings for you. Everything that I said that night was a lie. And it just kind of reinforced the red flags that I saw previously with her coming out and saying, like, I'm a liar. I'm a manipulator. Like, I'm a bad person. And her not really fixing those things, even though she asked for my advice at some point in time. So, long story short, red flags are going to be prevalent in the relationship. It is your job and your responsibility to see those red flags and take them into account and seriously look at them. Don't just like overlook them. Don't just kind of throw them away, toss them aside, and be like, it doesn't matter. She's still a great person, or he's still a great person. Really think about them. And here's the thing. If they were such a great person, why would they have those glaring, obvious red flags in the first place? a little food for thought to think about. But if you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about how this video was formatted. I know it was kind of very loosey-goosey, very rambly, but that's just kind of how this content's going to be for now on. Not necessarily super hyper-structured. So, and also just let me know, like, what if there's anything that you guys can like relate to this, or just some stories in the comment section, something like that. So without further ado, thank you boys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you.